AITAH for telling my dad, I'm glad he's dying of cancer after his wife convinced him to disown me for being gay. Advice needed currently 5 a.m. and I'm just hating life right now. This might be long IDK, sorry if I ramble. It is what it is, but I want an outside opinion. Info? I am Alex 24M, my dad Chris is 44M, and his ex-wife Susan is 46F. When I was 8, my mom died in a car accident. Moving on. When my mom died, it was just me and my dad for years. Things were good. We spent time together, we worked on cars together. He taught me a lot of life skills. They don't teach in school. Despite the things that have happened, I'm grateful. I got to know him for who he truly is before he met my ex-stepmom IDK, what she is now. A few months before my 15th birthday, my dad introduced me to Susan. She was cold from the start. She said hi to me, then spent the rest of the night talking to my dad and only my dad. He tried to involve me since the night was about me and her trying to get to know each other, but she did not give a fuck. He brought up how me and him were working on a car together that would be my first car when I got my license. Still have it in my garage. She said interesting, then changed topic to how she wanted to go on a date with my dad to a new restaurant soon. The following week, he asked me if I wanted to go on an outing with him and Susan to try and make that connection. I agreed, because why not? I wanted my dad to be happy. I should try and like this creature invading my life. We went to the movies and then out to eat. She did not speak a fucking word to me. I asked what she did for work. Silence. I asked what she likes to do in her free time. Silence. I asked if she has any hobbies maybe we share in common. Silence. I said I enjoy basketball and asked if she liked any sports. Silence. My dad picked up on this and encouraged her to talk to me. It just felt so fucking forced, and I still don't know why. As I wasn't out as gay at the time, she just hated me for existing. Months after I met her, my dad told me he proposed. I brought up how she hated me and refuses to talk to me. Why would he propose to someone that will make living in the house I grew up in feel like a prison I have to suffer through for 3 years until I move out? He told me she will warm up to me, and how she's told him she wants to know me, but I am the one who isn't trying. Me. I invited that bitch to my basketball games with my dad, and she declined every time there was no lack of trying on my end. Be that as it is, she eventually moved in. And as I thought, the house felt cold. And I spent all my time in my room because I just did not feel wanted anymore. The house no longer felt like I belonged there. A month before I turned 16, they got married. I wasn't invited. Kid-free wedding, alcohol. They didn't want loud distractions at the event. I don't fucking know. I stopped caring about their relationship at this point. I could tell my dad felt awful and told me we would spend time together after the wedding. Just me and him to make up for it. I told him sure, I'll believe it when it happens since we don't spend time together now anyway. We don't even work on my car together anymore. I do it by myself when he buys the parts for me. He supposedly bought me and him tickets to go see my mother's parents, and we were going to spend a week seeing where she grew up. Even now I feel like I'm going to start crying. None of this would have happened if my mom didn't die. None of this would be a thing if my dad listened to me about the woman he found after my mom. Anyways, when I turned 16, I asked my dad to talk to him alone without Susan, just me and him. He agreed, and I said, can we go to the park? Loved it there, and last memory I have of my mother is there. I came out to him, and it was an emotional moment. He didn't get mad or anything, he was supportive. He put his hand on my shoulder and told me he still loved me, and how this changed nothing between us, and I believed him. I asked him not to tell Susan as she would make it all about her religion and how it's wrong, just the normal hateful shit those people say in the name of love. Things were good between us for a while. My dad went back to helping me with my car, and we got it going just after I got my permit. I ended up getting a boyfriend a few months later and wanted to introduce him to my dad. Susan was there by default, and I knew it wasn't going to go well. But I did it anyway because my dad didn't hate who I was, so I was hoping he would stand up for me. He didn't. Throughout the night, Susan made rude comments such as, "You don't look or sound gay, I think you're confused," or "There's plenty of attractive girls in your school, why don't you talk to one of them?" Or "There's time to correct the path," shit like that. My dad stayed silent for it all. He tried to make me feel better with a smile every so often, but even my now ex-boyfriend felt uncomfortable and unwanted. Couldn't blame him, I didn't feel wanted either. After that fun-filled night of judgment, and I brought him home. Susan stopped me at the door while my dad was in the shower and told me she didn't want him back in her house, and how wrong it was to parade sin in front of her. I told her it was my house first. It was my mother's house first. It's still my father's house, and she's a guest. Marriage be damned. She didn't like that and walked away. I thought that would be the end of it. LOL, it wasn't. My dad became distant with me after that. We didn't really hang out together anymore, and he never asked me how it was going with my boyfriend. I assumed Susan was getting to him, and I was right. We fought a lot, just constantly over dumb shit. I accused him of favoring his self-righteous bitch of a wife over his son, and he told me I'm ungrateful for all he's done for me and continues to do for me, but he can't sit back and accept the life I'm choosing to live. He went from loving me unconditionally and supporting me in who I am to hating me over the course of a year. When I turned 17, it all came to a head and me and Susan got into it. She told me I will burn in hell for choosing to live life in sin, and my dad let her. When I told him to say something to her to defend me, for once he said no, and he agreed with her. I called him a coward and an embarrassment of a father. He said, "My mother would be ashamed of me, and I'm no son of his," and told me to leave and not come back. So I did. I slept in my car for a month before my boyfriend found out what I was doing and dumped me, because it was embarrassing being with someone who's homeless and didn't want more judgment in school. No dad, no mom, no boyfriend. Just me by myself in my car. I tried to keep going to school but stopped. After a while, it just didn't feel worth it. Didn't die, stole shit and sold it to save up money, did other shit to live, drove until I didn't know where I was anymore, got a job, got a place to live, got a social life at 20. Now, living states away, I am 24 and am relatively okay. Not successful by any means, but am comfortable. I work in a small garage. I have a boyfriend who I've lived with for a year. I have friends who support me and enjoy being around me. I haven't spoken to my dad since I left. I've kept no tabs on him. I haven't looked him up on social media. I just don't care to. Well, about a week ago, I get a message on Facebook. It's my dad. He tells me he's been trying to contact me for years but couldn't find me. Which is fair, I haven't had social media. He divorced his wife and desperately wants to try and make it right between us before he dies. He has cancer, but I want to make it clear, it's not terminal. He's getting treatment. Yes, he could die, but I could also die walking to take a shit in the morning, like whatever. He regretted kicking me out. He never agreed with what Susan was saying, but felt he had to agree because she seemed so knowing and right. I don't know, bro. He wasn't religious before he met her, but apparently spreading her legs, he saw God. He wants to meet me and catch up. He told me if he does die, the house is mine, the cars are mine, his money is mine. He doesn't have any money, so at most I'd get a couple grand, wowie. I am completely uninterested, I replied. You kicked me out in favor of your bitch of a wife who spent the entire time she knew me pushing us apart and you let her. I was 17 letting grown men fuck me for money so I didn't starve. The fact that I'm alive at all is a miracle, and I don't believe in heaven. I think when you die, there is nothing next. But if there's something after this then Mom is looking down at you with hate and regret for ever knowing you for the things you've done to me. I'm glad you have cancer. I'm glad you're feeling what I felt years ago when I needed you, and you basically told me to fuck off and never come back. You should have stayed married to Susan. At least you'd have someone by your side when you die. The next time I want to hear about you is someone tell me you're dead so I can piss on your grave. Fuck off, don't contact me again. I blocked him after that and am feeling empty now. I don't feel good about what I said, but I couldn't stop myself. My boyfriend doesn't think I'm in the wrong, but told me I could have been gentler since he could die. My friends say fuck that I should have been harsher. I think my BF just doesn't want me to regret what I've said later if he does die, but IDK. He won't be dead tomorrow, so if y'all do think I'm in the wrong, I can change things. There won't be an update. Reddit doesn't like me, so this account will be banned within a few hours. But the post doesn't disappear, so I'll see the replies. Thank you in advance. I'll reply to the ones until the account is axed. If I stop replying, Reddit found me.